really, I wish you were here, because being here without you means I am less than myself. Postcards have been with us for a long time, but one of the most intense crazes for them came about a century ago, when it was extremely fashionable to send lithographed scenes of life on the road to friends and family left behind. One of my favorite pieces of ephemera is a postcard of the Woolworth Building in New York, 1912, which I found some years ago in a New Hampshire barn. A wavy line of fountain pen ink marks the pinnacle of the towering structure. "Was up this last winter," the script notes for the information of those still on the farm. Even the hues of the early picture postcard becomes a familiar palette, of pale tones and comic book print quality, such that later ones from the 1970s on have a glossy, lustrous finish that seems incongruous and somehow wrong. Meanwhile, at the same time people were sending millions of penny postcards, cheap and portable photographic equipment made it possible for amateurs to capture real photo images and share the results in small print runs with their communities. Instagram for the industrial age. Millions of postcards, many of them as luminously boring as anything in Parr's collections, were fabricated and sent between 1905 and 1912, the peak postcard craze. A postcard is not merely an image, however, and that is one reason I have used postcards as a visual accompaniment to the text that follows. They tell the story of selfhood in search of itself. Postcards are elements within large systems, of cities and towns and farms, of postal and printing services, of tourist trade and vacations, and of family, friends, and coworkers. The image is really just the occasion, or the carrier, for creating a tiny node of personal signal within the vastness of this web of collective and communicative action. The message on the back is likewise secondary to the fact of the postcards being sent. Indeed, as anyone who has browsed in a Sunday flea market will know, many postcards contained no written message at all, just an address. The sought-for connection was the real freight. This is a book about seeking such connections, and the dangers and opportunities contained within that network of desire. The boring postcard offers several important insights. The first is that the boring postcard is not actually boring. There is a dynamic here, whereby we first register the trite or bland image, finding it somehow incredible, then move on to an appreciation of the image that is the opposite of boring, and is, we could likewise say, the opposite of the nostalgia often aroused by old mail. Then there is a subsequent moment of ironic doubling, holding both previous ideas in a delicious tension. Funny? Yes. Sad? Also yes. Fascinating? Absolutely. The boring postcard thus gives us, in visual form, something of a hint about how boredom might function more generally, or, to be more precise, how we might come to appreciate boredom in ways that are philosophically interesting. Cultivating that appreciation is the main purpose of this book. There is a second insight here concerning what I am calling the interface. Because we live in a world dominated by technology, and also because I focus on many technological details in my discussion, there is a tendency to think of interfaces as exclusively aspects of the computer age. Worse, there is a tendency to collapse the notion of interface to a specific platform or program. As I argue in what follows, even computer interfaces are more than this. They embrace the user experience, even the tactile elements of time spent with specific programs, swiping, clicking, thumb typing, etc. More expansively, the interface embraces social, political, and economic factors that are all in play in late capitalist life. From the material conditions and routine immiseration that enabled the device in our hands or on our desks, to the psychological and spiritual conditions shaping the time we spend with them. In still larger terms, the interface is an apt description of many non-tech elements of human existence. I mean simple things like thresholds, doorways, windows, and passageways, which are essential to molding the various affordances of work and home. I also mean more complex features of interaction, bordering and passing through, such as the very turnpikes, departure lounges, parking lots, and motel rooms that feature prominently in Parr's catalog of boringness. These are interstitial spaces, where we are not quite ourselves, suspended on the way to something that the postcard hints at but never depicts. Boredom is about getting stuck, feeling frustration at being so stuck.